If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
In tonight's What's Working, there is a program in place to create identification kits for children. These kits can be used by law enforcement if a child is reported missing. And the program is run all by volunteers. News 5's Devin Walsh caught up with them as they were working with children at a summer safety camp at Spring Hill College.
We're going to place it on here, and you watch the screen, and it's going to jump up there. See?
The Grand Lodge of Alabama's Child Identification Program is in full swing at this urban survival camp at Spring Hill College.
But we got your paperwork. How you doing today?
These volunteers are putting together an identification pack for each child.
Look at this as an insurance policy, and we hope that they never get used, but in the event that your child ever does go missing, we think you'd be very glad that you have this information available.
Mike Griffon runs the program in Lower Alabama. He says technology changes mean fingerprinting is done digitally instead of using ink.
Now we're going to get a picture of you.
They also take pictures of each child and record a video.
We print out a form like this, which has the fingerprints and photographs and a couple of ID cards on the bottom of it. It all also goes on here, along with the video and the voice recording.
Volunteers say this puts vital information all in one place for parents if a child ever goes missing.
When you get upset when your child is missing, you can't always remember everything. So they can go somewhere and pull all of this information out and give it to the authorities, and they have that information just like that.
Having it is a consolation for the parent, and it's reassurance that if something happens, that they can help and not just have to worry.
What's so beneficial about this information is that once you hand it over to law enforcement, if your child is missing, they can enter it into the Amber Alert system immediately because it has all the characteristics about your child in one place.
But if they go to their sock drawer and sweep their hand through the sock drawer, they're going to find that envelope, and they can just hand that envelope to law enforcement and say, here, it's all in here. Fingerprints, photos, voice prints, the works. It's all in there.
It takes dedicated volunteers to run the program, but they say if it helps just one family, their efforts are worth it. For What's Working, I'm Devin Walsh.
All right, so parents here in Connecticut are now able to track their children with this new CT chip, it's called.
Yeah, the Connecticut Freemasons are bringing this program to communities around the state, also to Barbarino Nissan. It's happening on Saturday. And joining us today from Barbarino Nissan is the executive manager, Brittany Barbarino, with CT Chip volunteer, April Mercure, and Frank Mangero. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.
Brittany, let's start with you. Why did you guys decide to have an event like this?
It's a great event. It's free for parents, and it gives you a kit where it lets you identify your child if something were to happen to them, and it saves hours for police work, and it's really, really important.
And how did the Freemasons become involved in this and sort of...
Well, actually, the Massachusetts Freemasons were doing this, and in 2003 we brought it to the state of Connecticut. And it was a very archaic system then, recording on VHS tapes. Wow. And it's evolved to be on DVDs, and now it's on a flash drive. And we have this little flash drive that has the information, height, weight, hair color, eye color, and then we also do dental imprints, DNA swab, and which is also a scent sample, pictures, and a video of the child. So if your child becomes missing, you can give this pack to the police, and within an hour or so they could have an Amber Alert out there with all the pertinent identifying information.
Wow, this is crucial. I mean, why wouldn't parents everywhere do this? It's so important to have on hand.
It's a really good program.
You would be amazed how many parents are apprehensive, and it's like, what do you have to lose?
Right.
You have everything to gain, nothing to lose. It's very remarkable.
And what's been your experience with the program, April? How have you seen from it?
I've been thrown into doing most of the dental, so I'm sticking my fingers in their mouths.
Yeah, okay. You're like, I'm glad I got tasked with that one.
Yeah, but I'm sure parents are so happy once they go through this and to have this handy.
Absolutely, and the kids are apprehensive too, but then once they do it, they're like, can I do it again? Can I get my thumbprints done again? I'm like...
Yeah, it's a free program. It's free for the parents. You know, we volunteer our time, the Freemasons in Connecticut. There are 9 districts. We have 9 different setups in Connecticut. And so at any given time on any weekend, there could be a number of CHIP events going on throughout the state.
Yeah, well, it's great that you've been able to partner up with Barbarino Nissan, and it's great that you're able to serve the community in this way. And we have all the information right here, all the details, so please go to that event, support them. It's all going down this Saturday, April 13th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So we want to thank...
And maybe get a car while you're there.
Absolutely.
Right?
Why not?
The new Nissans are beautiful.
Well, there you go. It's a win-win for everyone. Thank you all for being here and for what you do.
Thank you.
All right, stay with us. More style coming up after the break.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. If you follow my channel for a while, I've covered the child identification programs that is run by Freemasons, where they're trying to get people's DNA, they're trying to get kids' DNA, parents to submit their children's DNA. They tell you this is in case of an emergency, so they'll be able to track down your kids if something happens. But what we're seeing is this huge push to get everyone's DNA. Right? We've heard Google talk about Google, wants people's DNA samples. And then what has happened is they've tricked people into willingly submitting their DNA for the stupidest of reasons, right? We see all these, Ancestry and all these types of companies that trace people's lineages, right? Oh, give us your spit so we could tell you who you were related to 500 years ago, like anyone really cares. But people fall for this stuff, and then they're all, I want to know. And there's an agenda behind the agenda. The agenda isn't to help you find out who you are. The agenda is that they want people's DNA. Now, we know that they're working on manipulating DNA strands and all that type of stuff, DNA codes. And we know, like I said, that the Freemasons have their child ID program. So this is something that we're seeing more and more now, is this people willingly giving up their DNA. And this is how the whole New World Order is going. Like I've said before, everything is willingly happening. People are willingly giving into everything. Because the core of all this is mind control. I know a lot of people talk about all this stuff that's going on in the news and martial law and things that are going to be implemented, but they don't realize that these aren't going to be things that are forced upon us. The events that they create will force people to want these things, right? Like the microchip, for example. How many times have I said, microchip, microchip, microchip? Well, they create a fake story about a panic of people getting, their identity stolen and money stolen out of their bank accounts. And the safest route to go is to get microchip. Now nobody can ever steal from you again. And people will go, yes. They'll be begging for it. They'll be saying, we want the microchip. Just same with martial law. They can keep creating these false flag events. And then they can keep showing, the police officers on the news being racist and attacking people and shooting people. And what that does is it forces people in their mind to think and ask for the things that the New World Order wants to implement, right? So they force people into wanting martial law. They force people into wanting to be microchipped, right? The same with, cannibalism and all this other stuff, which people don't think is ever going to be a reality. But it is. It is going to be a reality. I've talked about the vampire facials, right? And how, these celebrities are literally, using blood on their face, and they're selling products with blood in it for anti-aging purposes, right? And we know there's truth behind it with adrenochrome and this disturbing stuff, but people would be, they would be taken aback if they heard that. But through mind control, through telling you, you could prevent cancer, it could do this or that, people will ask for these things. And this is how they'll create this satanic society. Okay? So there's a huge, huge jump now in getting people's DNA through all of these companies, right? No more, the Masons have the child identification program all around the country where they're targeting kids and they're telling parents that it's really good for the kids Okay, because we'll be able to track them. It's in all these states have it implemented. Florida, Mississippi. You could just look it up and see their websites for it. And then telling you, well, your kids will never get lost again. I mean, huh? My kids will never get lost. So your kid's not going to get lost. He's got a cell phone in his pocket probably because the government's tracking him anyway. Whether the phone's on or off. Most kids are walking around with like iPhones at 5 years old now. So even if the kid gets lost, the government can technically still track you. Right? And they'll use stories like that too when things like that do happen into convincing people why it's really good to have this type of technology and to have the microchip and all that stuff. But people willingly doing this, right? Please send us your DNA so that we could find out who you might have been related to 500 years ago and their cousin's, uncle's, mother's, sister's dog. What? Yeah, exactly. And through programs like this and mind control like this, you have people out there who don't understand the consequences and the severity of what they're trying to do as far as getting access to everyone's DNA. Okay, the government's storing these things. What do you think they do when somebody sends their spit sample in? You think it's getting thrown out afterwards? No. They store these things. It's like they store all of our data, right? We know that they watch us, they monitor us, they take our data, not just like your address and your email. You see how it is on the computer. I mean, you get remarketed on every website you go to. You look at one website, you're on another website, and then you're getting advertisements for that other website. They're watching your trends and watching the things you do. It's just how it works. So if people will stop willingly giving up their rights, if people will stop falling for this just nonsense over the stupidest things, then the people have a chance to fight back against this. But instead, what people are doing is people are falling for it, thinking that it's wonderful news to find out who they're related to, and then they're going, well, who cares about my DNA? Who cares about that kind of stuff? Because they don't get it. They don't understand it. So this is the type of stuff that's going on in our world. Willingly giving up our rights through mind control for the stupidest of reasons. And that's exactly what this whole program, this child identification program, and these other stupid things like Ancestry.com are trying to do. They want your DNA. And they want a lot more than that eventually from all of us. I thank you for listening to today's show. Don't fall for the mind control. God bless all of you and your families.